a lot more without chopping down any more of our trees. We have, now China has 20% of the population, 10% of the arable land, 6% of the water, and the water's in the wrong place, although they are having mega projects to try to get that water up into the right place. Already 30% of the total of animal protein in the world. And the consensus is that they will grow faster, certainly, than anybody in the Western world. And they just about today have enough corn, although I am much more optimistic after seeing some of your numbers of where the productivity can go to. Even Brazil, we're far behind, or better guys are 8 to 9, but our average is well below that. In Thailand, I think our best is about 4, and that's the good guys. And a lot of it is simple education. The company that I help, we were looking at doing thing in Laos, and I brought a simple booklet from the cooperative that I help in Brazil, how to till the land, how deep, and to them it seemed like rocket science. And this is what we need in Asia, and I think this is where people like FAO, etc., can help us a lot with simple technology on how to improve productivity. USA, everybody was very pessimistic at the beginning of the year on exports, 14% down. Actually, they're better than forecast so far at the beginning of the year, and the exports in Russia are really now falling significantly. But being able to compensate by very large increases to Iraq, Mexico, Lithuania. Lithuania just happened to be next door to Russia, so I don't know quite where that ends up. And then also in Angola. And prices so far in 2009 okay, but in the last month, the wheels have started to fall off. So the US was making quite a lot of money in the second quarter. Everybody's quite happy, but in the last few weeks, presumably because of the culling of the herds in the beef and the pork, breast meat today is about $1.20, $1.30 a pound, which is way below even what we export from Thailand at, and also what Brazil exports at. So at the moment, they are being helped by the drop in the grain prices, but their sales prices are not sufficient to have a sustainable profit. And to finish, again, there's only one Englishman in the room, so only one Englishman will understand this nursery rhyme. And the first time I gave that, I really didn't know why this nursery rhyme evolved. And apparently, this famous old Duke of York, he was the worst ever commander-in-chief of the British Army, because he could never make up his mind. So we say this to the children to sleep at night. So he marched them up to the top of the hill, he marched them down again. And when you see our graphs, when they were up, they were up. When they were down, they were down. And when they were only halfway up, they were only halfway down. And looking at our graphs, you say, well, are we halfway up? Are we halfway down? Or where are we? So I think this is a good place now to finish. And I quite often will show one final graph, and that's a casino roulette wheel. And I'm happy that I am in chicken and not in pigs, because pigs have a longer cycle, and 180 days is a lifetime. Chicken we only have to bother about 6 weeks, but it is the same as for you guys on the grain side, for us, and especially for us now in Thailand, where all our business is with processed food, where we have to make 6 month, sometimes a year contracts. And we have had, in the last few weeks, British buyers coming and say, oh, the grain price is going down. We want a reduction in our prices. And then you turn around the next day and 40's gone up $2 and say, well, it can go up. But it is very, very difficult. And, what was said yesterday that somebody had locked in for the next 3 years. I wish we could have locked in our last year's cooked food exports from Thailand for the next 3 years, but they won't let us lock them in for about 3 months. So I think that's given you a reasonable a macro overview of what's happening. And a lot of what I've said is not only for applicable to poultry, but also to all the meats. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. We do have time for questions. Well, I have a question. Again, coming back to the policy and ASEAN FTA, I'm hearing that ASEAN is in talks with about 20 different free trade agreements with different nations. And the one I'm interested in, ASEAN plus 3, which are China, ASEAN plus South Korea, and ASEAN plus Japan. You know, if all these free trade agreements do get in works, what would be the effect on the Thai poultry production as well as other Southeast Asian production?
Well, as I said, in Thailand, we do a little bit of exporting, as was shown in the previous graphs. Hopefully, we will not increase too much, but it's always there are people who only look at the top line and not the bottom line, because we are having another benefit at the moment, and which is why I think we were able to export corn to Malaysia, is as or production has gone down, or demand for grains has gone down, and therefore, besides the very good harvest, we've had a lower demand. So, or prices, although they're significantly higher than say U.S. or Brazil, they are lower than we've seen for a long time. Now, we start exporting significant quantities, it will have a negative effect on everything. And but you know, if I'm sitting in Philippines, I would be much more worried about Brazilian chicken than I would be about Thai chicken. Japan really doesn't change. Both China and Thailand are major exporters, and China, because of its food safety issues, they are much more of an importer than exporter, although certain parts they might have an excess at any particular time. I don't think it's going to change a lot of the panorama for poultry.
For the broilers. Okay. Thank you. More questions?